Well, the Trump administration paused U.S. military aid to Ukraine. In fact, a Ukrainian official tells CBS News without any more support from the United States, Ukraine can only sustain in its resistance against Russia for about 6 months. That's all dependent on whether Russia amps up their attacks and gets more severe. This comes as the latest fallout from last week's explosive meeting between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy continues to make headlines there from the Oval Office. So let's bring in CBS News Pentagon reporter Ellee Watson. Ellie, nice to have you with us. So break this down for us.
Well, pausing all military aid to Ukraine is the most direct way to pressure President Zelenskyy to come to the negotiating table. And it appears to already have had some effect. Zelenskyy just posted what could be considered a makeup tweet about the Oval Office meeting on Friday, calling that meeting regrettable and saying he's ready to agree to an immediate end to airstrikes and an exchange of prisoners with Russia if Russia agrees to do the same. Now, that post comes in the wake of the announcement of the pause last night. And to be clear, there have been recent shipments of weapons to Ukraine, but those were weapons promised under the Biden administration. The Trump administration so far has not promised any of the $3.85 billion remaining in drawdown authority for Ukraine to send any more weapons.
We did have signals from President Zelenskyy that he was open even before that White House meltdown of a meeting to having the minerals deal go through, but he said he wanted to have assurances of security. Is there anything that you read in his statement on X showing that he is getting a sense, maybe from anybody speaking to him from the United States or European nations, that security can be baked into that deal?
It looks like he is ready to come to a minerals agreement with the U.S., but the immediate ceasefire that he's asking for still gives stipulations about what Russia agrees to. The mineral deal, it looks like he's ready to come to the table because President Trump is really pressuring him to do so, and because Ukraine is so reliant on this Western aid. President Trump, in the explosive meeting on Friday, was telling some hard truths, as unprecedented and as brusque as he delivered it to President Zelenskyy. There were some hard truths that Ukraine is running out of cards to play in this war. They are suffering heavy casualties and they are having trouble recruiting more soldiers. That reality has been known for a while, but the difference is now the Trump administration is putting the burden of that reality on Ukraine with this threatened pause in support. There are other countries who provide weapons to Ukraine, but even those countries acknowledge that the U.S. support is a huge security guarantee, something that Zelensky's post today appears to acknowledge.
Right, and Zelenskyy has about that 6-month ticking clock to where the run out of those resources could really cause a huge problem for him in his relation to the resistance from Russia. Talk to me about what the situation would be if this aid just continues to be withheld for the people who are fighting on the front lines.
Well, Ukraine has had to deal with this sort of pause before. Under the Biden administration, Congress refused to appropriate more money for Ukraine. And so Ukraine, to deal with that month-long pause, began to ration ammunition. But by rationing ammunition, they had to give up some ground. Russia already controls about 20% of Ukraine. And what Ukraine doesn't want to do before negotiations even start is give up more ground, give up more leverage over Russia before even coming to the table.
Ellee Watson, thank you so much for that update from the Pentagon. It is a card game.